Welcome back to the channel. My name is Derek, and as you can see today in the title, we're doing a comparison of the GoPro Hero 9 and the ever popular iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is my personal phone. And I'm comparing these because they do have a lot of similar features. They both shoot at 4K in 60 frames a second, as well as 1080p in 240 frames, and they have an ultra wide angle lens, the GoPro having a 2.8 aperture throughout the entire range, and the iPhone 11 having 3 cameras actually, so it has 3 modules with varying apertures between 1.8 f-stops and 2.4. I'm shooting at 4K 30 on both cameras right now, and I'm using the linear plus horizontal leveling on the GoPro, and I'm just using the stock wide angle lens on the iPhone. Throughout the video I'll be testing the stabilization, the audio, and the image quality of all of these sensors. The GoPro does have a little bit of an advantage with a 20 megapixel sensor, where all of the iPhone sensors are 12 megapixels. Since the iPhone has the clear optical advantage with 3 sensors, I'm going to be using GoPro's lens emulations to make the equivalent focal lengths for the rest of the comparisons. I'll just start off by doing a quick audio test here. There's a slight breeze, so you might hear that in the microphones, but the iPhone is one of the most popular cameras in the world, so that's why I'm doing this test, because a lot of people have this phone just in their pockets ready to go, and I'm going to see if it's worthy to be compared with the Hero 9 in most situations. The iPhone has been really reliable and really true to the audio in the scene, but the GoPro does have an advantage of being a little bit newer, so the mics could possibly be a little bit better. When it comes to wind reduction, the GoPro is the clear winner. It does a great job with whatever algorithm they put in there to reduce the wind noise while focusing on the voice. So just to vary the audio a little bit, I came out to the river here. As you can hear here, it's pretty noisy in front of me. This will tell if there's a good separation between my voice and the background noise. And I'm actually going to start extending my pole a little bit farther away. So this is about a full arm's length away from me with a few notches on the extendable pole. For the last audio test, I've actually put the extendable pole at its maximum length. You might be able to still hear me, or you might be drowned out by the sound of the water in the river. Before I move on to the stabilization test, you can just hear a quick sample of the audio from behind the cameras. I'm just walking down the street here. Both cameras have multiple mics on different sides of the device that give it the ability to pick up sounds from all directions. As a vlogger, it's always nice to be able to turn the camera around while explaining what's going on in the shot and still be heard. The GoPro is the reigning king of digital stabilization with their Hypersmooth 3.0, but the iPhone also does have digital stabilization to steady shaky shots. Say that 3 times fast. Steady shaky shots. Let's see how it stacks up. So with both cameras at 4K 30 and on the wide setting on the GoPro and the 0.5 setting on the iPhone, I'm gonna do a quick stabilization test by just running here. Running for a little bit. The iPhone definitely doesn't dethrone the GoPro, but it's no slouch. I did notice the iPhone had some flickering in the clouds as I started and continued to run, while the GoPro looks gimbal-like and has no real changes in its overall exposure. I kinda think that flickering on the iPhone could be caused by it trying to capture a more HDR shot.
The GoPro can also use Hypersmooth in 4K 60, which makes it even easier to get smoother shots by slowing down the footage.
Both cameras also feature the ability to do hyperlapse or time-lapse photography. I'm just going to do a quick comparison with the time warp feature on the GoPro versus the stock time-lapse feature on the iPhone. I left both cameras in their default settings. The iPhone takes a frame every half a second, and the GoPro is set to auto, leading the GoPro to be behind in the beginning, but catching up and passing the iPhone in the end just a few seconds early. Both shots out of camera look good. I can't complain about either. But the GoPro is actually a little bit smoother with its Hypersmooth 3.0, and the iPhone itself doesn't have that many customizable options, whereas the GoPro you can go in and tweak it, like the ability to shoot photo sequences, day to night time lapses, and 4K video lapses, where the only settings that you can change on the iPhone are the exposure and which lens you can use. Since both cameras are capable of 240 frames a second at 1080p resolution, I'm just gonna do a quick turnaround here and see which one looks better with this high dynamic range. Right off the bat, the iPhone has better dynamic range, keeping me lit better while my back is to the sun. The iPhone does suffer from some heavy exposure flickering, but has an overall better look to it than the GoPro footage. Having Hypersmooth on also causes the subject to move around in the frame as it tries to smooth out motion. Next, I want to compare the image quality at different focal lengths while using GoPro's digital lenses versus iPhone's optical ones.
On the GoPro, I'm using the narrow profile on the 5K 30 frames a second, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max at 4K 30 frames a second with the 2x optical zoom enabled. A little side-by-side quality comparison.
As you can tell, the iPhone again has a more dynamically rich image, but the GoPro seems to emulate medium focal lengths just fine. If you were to zoom in beyond this, the iPhone would have a clear optical advantage. So here's an equivalent wide angle shot on the two cameras, with the iPhone 11 being at 0.5 times and the GoPro Hero 9 being at wide. In this shot, I prefer the GoPro's color over the iPhone. There is one feature of the GoPro that boosts image quality to a new level and doesn't rely on resolution or frame rate. The GoPro also has horizon leveling that the iPhone does not. Now, to take a look at the least used feature on any of my cameras, stills. Shooting both cameras at wide, we get images that look like this. The classic fisheye is really apparent on the GoPro, while the iPhone looks straighter. To my eye, the GoPro is super contrasty, and I find I like the iPhone's HDR rendition a little bit better. When zoomed in, the GoPro has a clarity advantage by utilizing those 20 megapixels over the 12 megapixels of the Apple. As long as you don't need to crop wide-angle shots in post, the iPhone wins, in my opinion, and you could always shoot a second photo with the 2x telephoto lens. Moving on, let's see how they compare after dark. With the sensors on these cameras being especially small, neither of these cameras are really good at low light. I've actually got a little video light off to my left here, and that's what's giving this nice lighting effect. But once I take this away and actually walk around my neighborhood, which is an especially dark area because there's only a few street lights, you'll be able to tell the difference pretty well and who wins here. I like how the colors tend to pop more on the GoPros. But as you can tell, having any stabilization on causes a ton of jitters that look totally unusable and ruin any shot. To reduce the jitters, you have to completely turn off the stabilization, which makes the GoPro shot extremely shaky and possibly unusable. Long exposure photography is fairly new to the iPhone's built-in camera app, but it can do some pretty amazing things. These shots were all taken on the same street a few minutes after I shot those clips. Both cameras can shoot up to 30-second long exposures, which is long enough to capture some stars in the frame. The images from the iPhone look amazing, while the ones from the GoPro are usable, but not as bright or pleasing. You may be able to adjust the GoPro settings more, but for a single shot, the iPhone takes this one. In conclusion, I think both cameras are great and there's definitely a place for both of them, but if I wasn't comparing them side by side, I probably wouldn't have nitpicked so much. The iPhone is a super powerful device, and you're most likely carrying something like it around with you all the time, and you can download apps to expand its functionality over the years, where the GoPro is a better mountable camera, something you can take in the water, drop on the ground. I mean, it's a very indestructible sort of package, where the iPhone is very fragile with its much larger screen and glass back and front. Obviously, if you're into action sports, you're probably gonna go with the GoPro because of its durability, but if you're looking to just start vlogging, you can definitely do it on an iPhone or a similar device. If you're trying to be discreet with your filming, the iPhone is probably the way to go because everybody already has a phone and it doesn't look like you're doing anything. There's no tally light on the front to tell you're filming. But if you just need a well-rounded camera that's not your cell phone, then the GoPro Hero 9 is definitely worth the buy. If you got something out of this video, do me a personal favor and click the like and subscribe button below so that the algorithm here on YouTube can show my videos to more people, and also click the bell icon to be notified of my newest videos about tech and travel. Thanks for watching, and never stop adventuring.